Forget everything you think you know about psychology explainers. Because today, we're not just learning, we're pulling off a heist. That social anxiety you feel, that's a prison, and we are about to break out. Our target is to steal your life back from something called the spotlight effect.
You know this feeling, right? You stumble over a word, or you realize you wore the wrong thing, and bam, the physical alarm bells just start screaming. That heat in your chest, the pulse hammering away, that's your body's primal reaction. It's saying, you've been seen, and you've been judged.
And in your mind, you become the main character in this high-stakes drama. Every stranger is suddenly a judge. Every quiet moment feels like the jury's out on you. And this isn't just a feeling. The source material calls this the narcissist's hallucination. It's this powerful and completely mistaken belief that our every little move is being intensely scrutinized.
Well, this is the key to the whole heist. It's the secret we're here to unlock. What if that huge, judgmental audience you're performing for just isn't there? What if you're playing to an empty house? Okay, so every good heist starts with solid intel. So our first job is to gather the proof, the hard evidence that tells us what we suspect is true. That spotlight is a total lie, and the prison guards, they're just shadows. So our first piece of intel comes from this classic study at Cornell University. Researchers had these students put on what they thought was a super embarrassing t-shirt, one with a giant picture of Barry Manilow on it. And then they had them walk into a crowded room. Now just look at this chart. Look at the massive gap between what we think is happening and what's real. The students wearing the shirt, they were absolutely convinced that at least half the room, 50%, noticed and was totally judging them. That's that first bar. But the truth? Fewer than 20% of the people in that room even registered the shirt. That's the second bar. The difference between how we feel and what's real, it is huge. So if the spotlight isn't real, then who's aiming it? Well, it's time to meet the antagonist of our story. That part of your own brain that built this prison in the first place and acts as its warden.
Let's give this villain a name, the Warden. Now, in brain terms, this is your default mode network, or DMN. And look, its job evolved for a really good reason. For our ancestors, getting kicked out of the tribe meant certain death. So the Warden became this hyper-vigilant guard, constantly worried about your social standing, all in the name of keeping you safe.
And the Warden has a very specific playbook. It takes your tiniest stumble and magnifies it into a major social crime. It turns a casual dinner into a dangerous minefield. But honestly, its dirtiest trick is that it writes this fake script in your head of what everyone else is probably thinking about you. And that script is always, always negative. Okay, so we've done our surveillance. We know the spotlight is a lie, and we've identified the Warden. So now it's time to look at the blueprints for our escape. And this plan is built on a really powerful, really liberating truth about how the world actually sees you. And here it is. This is the big plot twist of our heist. When you think someone is judging you for something, they're not. What they're really doing is using you as a mirror. So when they criticize your ambition, what they're really talking about are their own failures. Their reaction is almost never about you. It's just a broadcast of their own stuff. This powerful idea is called benign neglect. And I know, at first it sounds a little harsh, right? Like nobody cares. But I want you to reframe it. If nobody's really watching, then the stakes are basically zero. You're not being ignored. You're being set free. You can finally stop performing for an audience that was never there to begin with. All right, let's get some more hard data for our plan. This next piece of intel exposes a fundamental weakness in our audience's security system. Just the raw processing limits of the human brain.
I mean, think about this for a second. Your brain is getting flooded with about 11 million bits of information every single second. Now look at this chart. Your conscious mind can only actually process that tiny, tiny sliver, about 0.001% of it. The other 99.999%, it's just background noise. To almost everyone you meet, you don't even make the cut. You get filtered out before you ever have a chance to be judged.
And for our last piece of intel, let's look at memory. How long does anyone actually remember that embarrassing thing you did? The data here might really surprise you. Okay, look at this. We remember our own embarrassing moments with almost perfect, vivid clarity. See how high that first bar is? Way up at 90%. But when other people are asked to recall our embarrassing moment, look at that second bar. It absolutely plummets to less than 30%. We're the only curators of our own blooper reel. No one else is even watching the movie.
All right, the intel is in, the case is closed, the spotlight is a fake. Now for the most important part of the entire heist, your getaway plan.
See, the warden loves it when you're stuck in that internal loop, constantly asking, how do I look? What do they think of me? The escape artist breaks this cycle with one simple mental pivot. You stop observing yourself and you start investigating the world around you. You start asking, what's actually happening with them?
This technique is called the social mirror smash, and it's a really simple 3-step process. Step 1, just notice when you're caught in that anxiety loop. Oh, my face feels hot. Step 2, consciously pivot your focus away from yourself. Just stop the analysis. And then step 3, become a detective of your surroundings. What color are their eyes? What's that sound in the background? The second you stop looking at the warden's monitors, he loses all his power over you. And now we get to the loot. The reward for pulling off this whole heist isn't just about getting out of prison. The prize we're stealing back is something way more powerful. We need to completely redefine the word cringe. That feeling isn't a sign that you've failed. It's the sound of your warden losing his grip. The freedom to be a little awkward, to try something and fail, to take a social risk, that is not a weakness. That is your new superpower.
But listen, don't just take my word for it. Reading the blueprints is not the same as actually escaping. So, your final mission is to go out into the world and gather your own proof that the coast is clear.
I want you to try what I call a micro glitch. Do something small and harmlessly weird in public. Stand the wrong way in an elevator. Hum a song. Your only goal is to watch the reaction. And what you're going to find is that people's judgment, if it even exists for a second, just evaporates as they immediately return to their own worlds.
So here it is, the master key, the cheat code. The next time you feel that spotlight shining on you, just whisper this to yourself. It's blunt, I know, but it's maybe the most freeing thought in the entire world. Nobody cares. They're too busy hitting themselves. That benign neglect, that's your get-out-of-jail-free card. Go use it.